Under the dim lights of the airport lounge, Julia Carter sipped her coffee, her gaze lost in the rain-streaked windows. The storm outside mirrored her tumultuous thoughts, a prelude to the journey she was about to embark on. Boarding the late-night flight to Boston, Julia found herself seated next to a stranger who caught her attention. He was a man in his mid-30s, his sharp suit contrasting with his weary eyes. They exchanged polite smiles, an unspoken acknowledgement in the quiet hum of the cabin. As the flight progressed, a casual conversation sparked between them. The man, introducing himself as Marcus Reed, shared fragments of his life as a corporate lawyer. Julia listened intently, finding a strange comfort in the anonymity of their encounter. The conversation took an unexpected turn when Marcus, with a hint of jest in his voice, asked, "Ever thought about the perfect crime?" Julia, intrigued by the sudden shift, played along, unaware of how this conversation would alter her life. Their dialogue delved deeper, evolving from hypotheticals to a chillingly detailed plot. It was a game, a mental exercise, or so Julia thought. But as the night wore on, the line between fiction and reality began to blur. The plane's soft hum faded into the background as Julia and Marcus's conversation ventured into the realm of the morbidly fascinating. The idea of committing the perfect crime, initially a mere intellectual exercise, was slowly morphing into something more tangible. Marcus, with a sly grin, revealed his motive, a betrayal that cut deep into his personal life. Julia surprisingly found herself empathizing with his pain. The line between right and wrong blurred as they spoke in hushed tones, hidden in the shadows of the cabin. As the flight neared its destination, their plan had taken on a life of its own. They agreed to meet again, to discuss further, to explore the possibility that was no longer just a conversation. It was a pact formed in the clouds, yet grounded in a darker reality. Upon landing, Julia couldn't shake off the surreal feeling of the night. The airport's bright lights seemed harsh, a stark contrast to the dim cabin where a dangerous bond had been formed. She walked through the terminal, her mind racing with the possibilities of what they had just initiated. That night, in her hotel room, Julia lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The excitement of the plan was tinged with fear and moral conflict. She was no longer just Julia Carter. She was now a conspirator in a game that was all too real. Over the following weeks, Julia and Marcus met clandestinely, each meeting adding layers to their audacious plan. Their conversations, once theoretical, were now laced with specifics, timelines, methods, alibis. The target of their plot, a prominent figure in Marcus's past, became more than just a name. Julia found herself engrossed in the details of his life, the injustice that Marcus felt, and the retribution he sought. In this dangerous game, trust was their only currency. Julia, despite her better judgment, found herself drawn deeper into Marcus's world, a world where right and wrong were shades of grey. One evening, as they sat in a dimly lit corner of a quiet cafe, Marcus handed Julia an envelope. "The final piece," he said. It contained information that sealed their pact. It was the point of no return. That night, as Julia pondered over the contents of the envelope, she realized the depth of their conspiracy. She was no longer an outsider looking in. She was an integral part of a plan that could change or end lives. As the day of the plan approached, Julia's apprehension grew. The reality of their scheme, once an exhilarating thought, now weighed heavily on her conscience. Yet, the allure of the game kept her bound to the plan. Marcus, meanwhile, became more enigmatic. His once transparent motives were now shrouded in mystery, leaving Julia to wonder about his true intentions. Was there more to his story than he had let on? 2 days before the plan was to be executed, Julia received an anonymous message. The cryptic words hinted at knowledge of their plot. Panic set in. Had their plan been compromised? Meeting Marcus in an abandoned warehouse, Julia confronted him about the message. His reaction was calm, too calm. He assured her it was nothing but a scare tactic by someone who guessed too much. That night, alone in her thoughts, Julia pondered over every detail. Doubts crept in. The lines between ally and adversary blurred. The game was no longer just a game. It was a labyrinth of deception. The day of the plan arrived with a storm brewing in the sky, mirroring the turmoil in Julia's heart. She had made her choice. There was no turning back now. The final act of their scheme was in motion. As Julia positioned herself at the designated spot, the reality of her actions hit her. The thrill of the game had vanished, replaced by a chilling sense of dread. She was about to cross a line from which there was no return. Meanwhile, Marcus was enacting his part of the plan. His movements were precise, his demeanor calm, but as the moment of truth approached, an unforeseen complication arose, throwing their plan into disarray. In a sudden turn of events, Julia discovered a shocking truth about Marcus, a revelation that upended everything she thought she knew. The game they were playing was far more complex and dangerous than she had ever imagined. The story culminated in a confrontation between Julia and Marcus, where betrayals were revealed and true intentions were laid bare. In the world of deception they had woven, trust was the most dangerous game of all.